So today I'll be giving you a short presentation which will cover generally all the topics that you will touch on in your primary 4 math syllabus. Now this presentation would be very good for you to serve as a revision before you move on to your end of year exams. Now this would be good for you to see what you know and what you do not know, and if there's any topics that you have to revisit before you move on to your end of year examinations. So let's get started. The first topic will be on numbers. Now I have listed out everything there. The things that you have to take note is the number representation and place values, reading and writing numbers in words, patterns, rounding off numbers, factors as well as operations. I will not be going through the easier ones. Instead, I'll be talking about rounding off as well as factors. Now, you would want to be able to round off numbers to the nearest 10, 100, and thousands. Now, I have given you 3 numbers on the screen, and I would like you to take some time to round it off to the nearest 10, 100, and thousands before I show you the answers. I hope that it's easy for you. Now, on the table on the right, it shows you all the answers when you have rounded it off to the nearest 10, 100, and 1000. Now, for the general knowledge of how to round off, let's take for instance you would like to round off to the nearest 1000. You have to look at the 1000 place and see the number that comes before it, so then look at the hundreds place. Now if the number is 4 and below, it should be rounded down. However, if the number is 5 and above, the whole number should be rounded up. So that is what you should take note of. Next is on factors. Factors are numbers that divide a number exactly, also known as multiples. So let's try to find out what are the factors of 81. You can try to do it before I show you the answers. So the factors of 81 actually follows. It is 1, 3, 9, and 81, and that is based on the equations that I have shown you here. It is 1 times 81 giving you 81, 3 times 27 giving you 81, 9 times 9 gives you 81. So here are all the factors. Now let's try another question, which is what is the sum of the factors of 15? So this question is slightly different than the previous question because the previous question asked you to list out the factors. However, this question wants you to find out the sum of the factors. So the answer is 1 plus 15 plus 3 plus 5, and that will give you 24. Because 1 times 15 gives you 15, and 3 times 5 gives you 15. Now, the number 1 will be a factor for all numbers because all numbers can be divided equally and exactly by the number 1. Just a tip for you to take note of. Next will be fractions. Now you have to know how to do fraction questions with the knowledge of knowing the difference between mixed numbers and improper fractions, as well as how to convert the both of them to each other, as well as finding out the difference in subtraction, addition, as well as multiplication of fractions. So I will not be going through the addition and subtraction portions for fractions because the main goal for doing this is to make sure that the denominators are the same before you carry out any calculations with fractions. Instead, I will focus on the difference between the mixed numbers and improper fractions, as well as how to convert them to one another. So on the screen, you can see that I have shown you a regular fraction, improper, and a mixed number. Now do take note that for the improper fraction, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Hence, this shows an improper fraction. However, for a mixed number is called a mixed number because they have 2 parts. One is a whole number and the other one is a regular fraction. Do take note that there is no such thing as a mixed improper fraction. Next, we shall go on to converting. So you must be able to convert improper fractions to mixed fraction and vice versa. So let's start off with an example. So how about you try writing 56 out of 9 as a mixed number. You can pause the video here. Now in order to do this question, you have to recognize that 9 out of 9 is equivalent to 1 whole. This depends on the denominator. And how many wholes will the number give you? It will give you 6 wholes because 9 times 6 gives you 54, and that is the nearest multiple to the number 56. This will make up the whole number portion of the mixed number. The remaining fraction of 2 out of 9 will make up the fraction portion of the mixed number. Hence, it will give you the answer of 6, 2 out of 9. Next would be the other way around, converting mixed numbers to improper fraction. So trying another example, please show 1, 2 out of 9 as an improper fraction. Just like before, you should recognize that 9 out of 9 is equivalent to 1 whole. And how many wholes are there? There is only 1. Hence, it will be 9 times 1. And this will add up to the 2 out of 9, giving you an answer of 11 out of 9 as the improper fraction. The next topic you should know is decimals. You should know their representations and place values, comparing the decimal numbers, knowing which one is bigger than the other, as well as adding them up in terms of operations, as well as rounding off the fractions, which is very similar to how we rounded off numbers previously. So touching on the place values, I have shown you 3 different numbers with decimal places, and their place values are shown in the table on the right. As you can see in the columns, in the first part, before the decimal point, it is just as your normal numbers. There is a thousands place, hundreds, tens, and ones. But after the decimal point, there are 2 more positions, which is the tenth and the hundredth. Do take note that this one ends with a th, so it will be after the decimal point. You can try rounding off the decimals to the nearest tenth before I give you the answers to it. So when you round off the 3 numbers to the nearest tenth, which is the position right after the decimal point, you should get the answer of what is presented. Next is time, and you have to understand that time also has seconds taken into consideration other than just minutes and hours, and then you have to know how to write out the 24-hour clock. So you can try to convert the normal time into a 24-hour clock timing. Now in the table shown, there is the normal timing as well as the 24-hour clock timing. There are two rows that I would like to bring your attention to, which is the last 2. Now do take note that even though they show 2 of the same numbers, which is 3:15, the time periods are different because one is in AM and one is in PM. Now this shows the difference in the 24-hour clock timing because there is a significance of 12 hours being added on when it is in PM. Now this 12 hours added on shows that it is in the afternoon, the PM session. So do take note, when you talk about 24-hour clock timing, please be certain whether you are referring it to the AM or the PM session. Next is area and perimeter. You have to know the difference between the two, and you have to find out what is the area and perimeter. So this shown is a rectangle. Now to find the area of a rectangle, the formula is very easy, which is length times breadth, which is basically A times B, and that will give you an area. The area is the space within the shape. which is the one colored in yellowish. The perimeter is the outline of the shape itself, the black lines, which is A plus B plus C and D, giving you the perimeter. Next is geometry, which you have to recognize the different lines, the naming of angles, and the skills used needed in angles, such as measuring or drawing, and relating angles in degrees and in turns. I will only be focusing on the first two because the others are things that you need to practice and learn how to do it yourself, which I believe you have already know how to do. Now for the lines, shown here are parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that never meet and they do not intersect. Next is perpendicular lines, which do intersect and they will meet at one point, making a right angle. It has to be a right angle in order for it to be perpendicular. Because for instance, this one, these lines are intersecting lines, but they are not perpendicular because it does not form a right angle. Next is the different type of angles. That is the acute angle, obtuse angle, the straight angle, which is always at 180 degrees, as well as the right angle, which is always 90 degrees. So for angles as well, you have to know the different ways in order to name the angles. You have to practice how to name the different angles. Now can you figure out what type of angle is this? This angle is an acute angle. As mentioned previously, an acute angle is an angle lesser than 90 degrees. You can refer to how a 90 degrees look like on the right image. An acute angle is smaller than 90 degrees. However, an obtuse angle is always more than 90 degrees. So these are the two differences, and what I've shown you here is an acute angle. So there are three different ways that you can name this angle that I have shown you on this slide. You can pause the video and try to find out what is it before I give you the answers. So shown here are the answers to how to name the angles. The first way that you can name it is angle BAC. The second way is angle CAB. And the last one is angle W. Now for the first and second one, please take note that the angle that you are referring to, which is at point A, the alphabet A should be in the center of the name. It is supposed to be sandwiched between the B and the C because the angle that you are referring to at the point of A is referenced, hence why it should be in the center of when you name the angle, which shows you angle BAC and angle CAB. Now this is when you use capitalized letters. If you use smaller letters, you can put it as angle W. However, you can only use this when the angle is being specified and there is another alphabet at the point that you want to refer to. If the alphabet of W was not there, you can only name the angle shown in two ways, which is angle BAC and CAB, and not in angle W. Only if there is another alphabet in smaller letters that you can use angle W as a way to name the angle that you are interested in. Now that concludes the short presentation that I have wanted to give you. Please take note that this presentation is only for you to skim through and act as a revision for your end of years. If you have anything that you are unsure of or you have doubts, please go revisit the topics and make sure that you do more practices and understand the base concept of everything. All the best for your end of year exams, and I hope that everything will be smooth sailing for you. Bye bye!